was just thinking about Eve in the Garden of Eden. And I was thinking, what was it that the serpent said to her that caused her to doubt anything that God had said previously, specifically in regards to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? As in, why was it so easy to tempt her into taking of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? And I came across this verse here. This is in, where am I here? Reading the book of Judges right now. I listened to it, most of it yesterday, and then this morning I'm going through it now physically. This is what I like to do is while I'm at work, I will listen to the Bible with my earbuds, and then I will come home and physically reread it. And this is a little side note. This is what I also do as well. 32 hours till Matthew. So if I'm starting Judges, in 32 hours, I will be at the book of Matthew. Or 13 hours to Job, or 20 hours till Isaiah. 400 pages left to go. This is kind of like roadmaps, and I do this throughout the Bible to just give me an idea of where I am at. If you're ever interested in hearing about that, let me know in the comments as well. But for now, we're talking about why was Eve beguiled. So let's go over here to Deborah. Deborah is one of the female judges, and she was hanging out in Mount Ephraim. And after defeating Sisera, this is a dude, some lady smote him in the temple with a nail. Basically, Jael was her name. So she basically told him to turn in. Don't fear anything that's going on around you. So he went in. He was like, I'm so thirsty. Give me a little bit of water. And she opened a bottle of milk. I thought, that's kind of interesting. And gave him a drink and covered him. So milk made him a little sleepy. Covered him. And again he said unto her, stand in the door of the tent. And it shall be, when any man doth come and inquire of thee, say, is there any man here, that thou shalt say, no? And then she saw that he was fast asleep, snuck over to him, and smote him in the head with a nail, so that he died. So then Deborah and Barak make a song. And then over here, we're in chapter 5. Over here, we see a little bit of how Jael is blessed because of what she had done. Verse 27, at her feet she bowed. He fell down. He laid down at her feet. He bowed. He fell. Where he bowed, he fell down dead. Now, I'd have to do a little bit more digging, but it's interesting this word is that's used as bowed. And a verse came to me when Jesus said, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that he is Lord. So I wonder if that means that eventually every man will die, and then obviously every man will be resurrected. So I might make a video about that, but it almost feels like here in this instance, bowed doesn't mean submitting like you're going down on one knee, but it means that you're dead. So at her feet he bowed, he fell, he lay down. At her feet he bowed, he fell. Where he bowed, he fell down dead. Just interesting. Anyways, then I came across this here. The mother of Sisera looked out at a window and cried through the lattice, why is his chariot so long in coming? Why tarry the wheels of his chariots? So she's longing for her son, and he's not coming. Her wise ladies answered her, yea. She returned answer to herself. So the word yea is interesting here because that's all her wise ladies answered. They just said yea. Almost like Isn't it obvious? Isn't it obvious? It's like if somebody says to you, like, what would be an example? Somebody has a flat tire and the car's not moving, and you come up to the car and the person's like, I don't know why this car isn't moving. And then you just say, why it's not moving, like question mark. And you both look at the tire and it becomes obvious. You don't have to say anything else. It's almost like sarcasm in some ways, like maybe not in this instant, but again, if you're approaching the car and you have the tire flat, someone says, I don't know why this car isn't moving, and you both look at the car and you kind of give that person a look like, isn't it obvious? You don't know why the car's not moving? And then the person realizes the tire's flat. And it's like, duh. So then when you go over to Genesis chapter 3, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said. Like, in this instance, it almost looks like yea isn't it obvious? Like, just Eve, think about this for a second. Look around you. Look at all these trees and look at this one tree. It's so beautiful. Isn't it obvious? Like Eve, I'm really trying to get you to understand what God is really trying to do. He's really trying to keep something from you. Yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Like all the trees, including this one? And the woman said unto the serpent, so notice the serpent says, ye shall not eat of every tree, meaning both of you. Both of you. He didn't say thou or you. He said ye. As in, whoever can hear me, this is who this is for. So yea, hath God said, ye shall not, meaning both of you, shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, we, as in her and Adam, may eat of the fruit trees of the garden. So it's almost like she spoke on behalf of both of them. Because to me, personally, at this point in time, I believe that Adam and Eve were equal on everything. This is why she was able to approach the serpent. I don't think this was a power move or anything like that she went out from underneath her husband. I think they were 50-50. Adam needed her just as much as she needed Adam. And she spoke on behalf of Adam and said, we may eat of the fruit trees of the garden, but of the fruit tree of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, meaning both of them. Neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So I don't remember seeing that part. Don't touch it. But that's how people are. It's like we want to see how close before we break the rules and all this kind of stuff. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye, meaning both of you, shall not die. For God doth know that in the day both of you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and both of you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So he's talking to both of them. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. I might make a video about this later, but it's interesting that they knew that they were naked. And right away, they're like, we got to cover ourselves. We got to cover ourselves. We got to cover ourselves. It's interesting that all of a sudden they had that knowledge that they were naked and they needed to cover themselves before God showed up. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. Now, some people say that these trees could be angels, based on, I think it's in Ezekiel, talks a little bit about that, the Garden of Eden, but I'm not sure. Could be just trees. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, as in God, who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee, as in you, I commanded you personally, that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. So I'll stop there, but it's fascinating that God told Adam personally. He said, look, who told thee that thou wast naked? And then all of a sudden it clicked. Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou should not eat? So it's interesting that God kicks out Adam and Eve, because one of the things, I think, is because now they have knowledge of the future. They know what's going on. So they can't partake of the tree of life because they'll live forever knowing the future and they don't need God. The Lord said, behold, the man is now become as one of us, to know good and evil, to know what's coming. And even now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore, the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, 2 of them, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. No one was allowed to eat from the tree of life. And I believe, again, this is my theory, if you take of the tree of life, you get to live 1,000 years a pop. Every time you take from the tree of life, you get 1,000 years. After you take of the tree of life and you go away from it, you have 1,000 years before you got to come back and take of the tree of life again. So that's just my theory, my thoughts. It's kind of interesting, though, that God said that now that they know good and evil, like we do, as in knowing the future, we got to take them away from the tree of life, because they'll live forever. And to me, forever is 1,000 years. That's what I think. It's 1,000 year time frame. If you take again of the tree of life, you live another 1,000 years, another 1,000 years. This is why in the book of Revelation, again, this is me, no one else is talking about this, is my theory. This is why the nations keep coming back to God to dedicate themselves and all this kind of stuff from all over the world, because they get to partake of the tree of life and live for another 1,000 years at a time. Anyways, hopefully you got something out of this. Let me know your thoughts. Feel free to comment. What do you think about this? And then also, we are at 1,000 subscribers, so feel free to subscribe and let's get to 2,000. All right. Thanks for watching. See you in another video. Bye for now.